ऐसे मजे मजे में पी लिया।
मैं फ्रूट पीता था, ट्यूब।
मैंने पिया ना, मुझे भी दिमाग में चलने लगा। धीरे धीरे बीड़ी, सिगरेट, गांजा वाले सब सीख गया।
कपड़े से गीला करके पीते सुनते।
Innocent children addicted to lethal drugs. Dealers claim they are easy targets. LSD, MDMA, ecstasy, among other mind-altering drugs, are now popular among school children. And the number of children getting hooked to these is increasing at an alarming rate.
Many of the students have informed us that initially when they started taking drugs or got involved in it, it happened near their school premises.
This Thursday, Mirror now exposed the dirty underbelly of a drug racket that thrives undeterred in all major cities, and discovered that buying drugs has become as easy as shopping online.
It's business, you see, because nowadays money is all that's required in the world. If you have money, you have everything. And children are easy to target because they are not sensible as of now.
Chilling confessions of a drug dealer caught on tape has sent shockwaves across India. Parents unaware, while children fall easy prey to these peddlers right outside their school.
ऐसे मजे मजे में पी लिया। जैसे एक गली है, ऑटो वाली गली, उसमें बैठते थे तो वो आ जाता था तो पी लेते थे हम।
मैं फ्रूट पीता था, ट्यूब।
क्या नशा चढ़ता है ट्यूब से?
सर घूमता है।
स्कूल का बाहर करिए, अंदर नहीं करिए।
स्कूल के बाहर कौन आता था ड्रग्स देने?
वो करता, वो दोस्त आते थे। और कभी कभी मैं भीख मांग के पी लेता था।
खराब दोस्त पकड़ लिए। क्या कहते थे? बोलते थे लो एक दो कस लगा तो सीख गए ना था।
Awareness is a very important part of our strategy to counter the substance abuse or the drugs.
While police claim they've become more vigilant, the rise in the number of young drug abusers paints a grim picture. The drug racket in Hyderabad is only the tip of the iceberg. The real fight will have to be fought in homes, schools and colleges. And Mirror Now will be with you, because your fight is our fight. Mirror Now report.
There has never been a time in the history of our country when we needed to put aside our differences and work together more than right now, when our entire youth is at risk. Children as young as 10 are becoming targets of drug dealers simply because it's the easiest set of people to target. The kind of discoveries we've had over the last couple of days have shocked us, to a point where we've decided to dedicate our entire primetime band tonight to talking about this problem, to working together and to find solutions. Because it's not just parents, teachers, the rest of us in society, the police and the lawmakers and the judiciary that needs to work together to stop this before it derails the entire future of this country. A very senior journalist, Mandar Fanse, spoke with a drug dealer yesterday and he joins us on the show right now. Mandar, thank you for joining us. You spoke with this drug dealer, obviously on the condition of anonymity. He didn't tell you, we concealed his identity. But tell us where he's getting his supply from, because one problem is where the drugs are coming in from, and the other is how they're creating a demand for it. Help us understand where these chemical drugs are coming from.
See, basically this is a warlike situation, Faye, because the kind of drug supply is happening across the metros, all over India is immense. The recent seizures which we see, around 2,000 crore rupees of drugs seized, or maybe 3,000 crore rupees drugs seized, or maybe a few crore double-digit drug seizures which has happened near, at least in Maharashtra. If we go by recent seizures, the modus looks like they're basically taking refuge to the various life sciences labs. They're creating different molecules, they're experimenting different molecules, they're creating all these supplies from these either fertilizer companies or maybe the sick industries in the MIDCs they are eyeing upon, and then right from Udaipur to Solapur, all this kind of a modus has been observed so far when it comes to all across India, wherever the drug seizures have happened. And especially this modus is been trickled down to the metros and the schools around, because they have identified certain youth, and especially the youth who are in need of money. They have been targeted. In the recent history of drug seizures, especially in Mumbai and around areas, Thane, the adjacent Palghar district, and most of the MIDCs around Pune, these drugs were manufactured. Even in Ulhasnagar area, in the MMRDA region around Mumbai, these drugs were found in huge quantity, and that's why it's a really worrisome situation right now. The kind of drugs they are selling, they are changing daily the molecules, and identification of this drug is really very difficult, next to impossible almost, because even a paper which I am handling around right now, that can be a drug today. So the level of drugs, the synthetic drugs, is completely changed, and police, overall police system, especially the police which is the local police, they are not able to handle that particular thing, because they are not being trained properly towards identifying all these activities. And even then, I would still say, if police decides, this can be really curbed to a large extent, because they can use their intelligence.
But then I'm reading about the previous other recent incidents of drug busts that happened in Mumbai. For example, in April, we had a drug bust of 5 college students who had LSD worth 70 lakh rupees, and they were functioning as dealers. In Himachal, it was discovered that drugs were being sold based on a hashtag through Instagram. Whoever tweeted about it, and they were using government speed posts to deliver drugs to people's doorsteps. Is it true right now that college students and school students are not only users, but they are also last mile dealers who are bringing in other users who are actually dealing in order to support their habit at this point?
Absolutely, because this is what is the model looks like, because the way last 3-4 days we were going across various sources of ours, and all those sources were pointing out toward the youth, especially college going youth, and those particular college going youths, especially who have recently graduated into the college, those were the fresh targets, because A, they were having money with them, and B, they were having connects in their schools, respective schools. So penetration in the schools eventually was very easy, and that's how these drug peddlers are working. These peddlers are even beyond the definition of being peddlers, because hardly a amount of 75,000 rupees has been really pushed upon over them, and then they are forced to do certain illegal activities as well, and they have been tried and tested by these peddlers, the seasoned peddlers or the seasoned criminals in this business, by various methods. They force these kids these children to snatch some or the other things, or make some petty crime, and then on these children have been roped into this particular peddling gangs. So this is really a grim situation as of now, which is around us, and it's a ticking bomb.
Well, Mandar, you're a parent yourself, and I know that you were very upset with what you saw yesterday. Drugs that are colorless, odorless, you can't smell them, you can't see them. They're very easy to lace substances with. That actually makes our smaller children also easy targets. Sweets, chocolates, a soft drink could be laced with a drug at this point.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, because these dead-trap drugs, and especially these colorless, odorless LSD drugs, the drugs which comes on the paper, with drugs which comes in a drop form, they cannot be identified at all. If you put that particular drug in any water bottle or any water resource, then it's absolutely, you cannot make it out. You cannot even sense it, that something is wrong in that particular thing. So it is utterly really worrisome, and especially we need to be really careful about it, and people around us also needs to be really made aware about all these things, because these drugs are really demons in a way around us, and you don't know when that drug can trap you in somebody or the other's intentions.
All right, Mandar, many thanks for joining us. Mandar, our senior news editor there, who's been on this story and who's been tracking this for a fairly long time. What we're doing this evening is trying to examine this problem from every angle. For those of you who watched Udta Punjab, the news is it's not just Punjab. It's all over the country. And it's children as young as 10 or 13. The scary question we have to ask ourselves as parents tonight, do we know the telltale signs? Can we tell if our children are taking drugs. There used to be a time with marijuana you could tell from dilated pupils, but these new drugs, the telltale signs are completely different. And we need to be really aware and really vigilant, and we have to work together as a country at this point to be able to battle this. Our phone lines are open to our viewers watching at home. So is our Twitter and our Facebook pages. But Vineet Jain, Secretary of the Punjab BJP, joins me on this show along with Uday Sahay, former IPS officer, D Bannerjee, retired narcotics officer. Bosco D'souza is with the National Program Kripa Foundation, the largest NGO working in the field of de-addiction. Aparajita Gautam is a concerned parent who joins us in Delhi. Swapnil Kothari is a senior lawyer, and Dr. Sagar Mundada is a psychiatrist, and he's the youth wing head of the Indian Medical Association. I welcome all of you to this conversation. I want to start with Bosco D'souza. Bosco, tell us, how young are the people who are coming, or the clients who are coming to you right now for de-addiction? There used to be a time where it was largely a program limited to adults, but how many children are you having to, to help these days?
Yes, previously in the olden days, you would get the group coming from 23 to 60. Now it has dropped down to 13 to 23. In this country at the moment, there is about 20 million people who are addicts either on alcohol or drugs. From there, 16% are drug addicts, from which 15% of it are young children. They are coming in folds by the day. It is basically children coming more from 14 to 17.
Well, that's the unfortunate part. Uday Sahay, this is a disturbing trend for for us as parents, for us as Indians, and I know for you specifically as a police officer, as a retired police officer. Do you think that the police are equipped? Because like Mandar was telling us, the molecule is being changed on a regular basis to avoid detection. In a case like that, how can the police possibly get on top of this situation?
If you talk about the police station police, they are not really trained, and therefore this kind of specialized investigation is done by the narcotic cell of the state. But in all such cases where the case is registered at the police station level, though technically the inspector is supposed to investigate, but invariably you have ASIs and sub-inspectors, and many of them are not that much abreast with law, the nuances of the recoveries, etc. So they mess up, and therefore there's a strong need to train at the police station level, number one. Number two, to keep them abreast of the changes that are happening, the narcotic bit of it, the psychotropic bit of it, how to distinguish the two, how to test quickly when you recover, and the fact that it's getting mixed up with all kinds of eatables, you can't really even identify, and how will you take that into position for seizure. Therefore, it's the high time where a relook is required on the part of the police, especially the district police, in handling such cases.
Well, we also have D Bannerjee, who's a former narcotics officer. Mr. Bannerjee, obviously we have strict very severe narcotic laws, anti-narcotic laws in our country. Why isn't that enough? Why are we in a situation right now where drugs are easily available outside of schools? We have rules that say cigarettes should not be available within a certain distance of a school gate. But we understand now that hallucinogenics, that drugs are available right outside the gate.
Well, the narcotics laws in our country are very strict. We have the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985, which provides for very stringent punishment to the drug traffickers. Is a minimum punishment of 10 years, which may extend to up to 20 years, and also with a fine of 1 lakh rupees to 2 lakh rupees. Further, there's a provision preventive of illicit trafficking in Narcotic, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, which provides for detention of narcotic traffickers for a period of 1 to 2 years. This is done through an executive order. Then also the Narcotic Drugs, the NDPS Act 1985, which has been amended also. This also provides for forfeiture of property of the drug traffickers. Unfortunately, although these laws are so stringent, the profit motive, the profit from narcotic drugs trafficking is very, very high. The profit is more than 1000% of the investment. I'll give you a short example. For example, say heroin. The cost of it is made from opium. Opium is available at around say 30,000 to 50,000 rupees per kg. Roughly 10 kg of heroin, 10 kg of opium is required for manufacture of heroin. It also requires acetic anhydride. Acetic anhydride is also a controlled substance. Controlled substance means they are very. It is also used for many the chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry, dye industry, etc. And it is also used for manufacture of heroin. Without acetic anhydride, you cannot manufacture heroin. So therefore, it is a controlled substance. Possessing, it requires permission from the Narcotics Control Bureau. They only give the permission for the transaction of acetic anhydride. Now, acetic anhydride, as I told you, is a controlled substance. Its cost round about maximum 100 rupees per liter. But in the black market, it is about 5,000 to 10,000 rupees per liter. So, just 1 kg of acetic anhydride is required for manufacture of 1 kg of heroin. To produce, the cost of 1 kg of pure heroin is around maximum not more than 5 lakhs. But this heroin is contaminated.
Okay. You're absolutely right. If we look at the data, for example, that's coming out of Punjab right now, 90% of the addicts in Punjab are addicted to heroin at this point. And we also had a reporter in Delhi go to a de-addiction center that is dedicated to children. And she spoke to the children who were there. And the stories that they had to share were absolutely horrific. Take a look.
ऐसे मजे में पी लिया. जैसे एक गली है, ऑटो वाली गली, उसमें बैठते थे तो वो आ जाता था तो पी लेते थे हम. ऐसे धीरे धीरे आदत लग गई तो वो हमें ले जाता था बाइक में, हम पीना स्टार्ट कर दिए. तब भी कम पीते थे थोड़ा, बीच बाच में छोड़ने. फिर धीरे धीरे लत लग गई, अपने पैसे का लेने लगे. फिर ऐसे स्मैक पीने लगे. स्मैक के बाद बीड़ी सिगरेट ये तो पीते ही थे पहले से. फिर ऐसे कर करके फ्रूट पीने लगे. फिर अभी कुछ दिन पहले 2-3 महीने पहले ही भोला खाया था मैंने. यहाँ मेरी मम्मी लेके आई है मुझे यहाँ.
तो तुम स्कूल जाती थी, स्कूल के आसपास मिलता था सब?
स्कूल के साइड में मिलता था ये.
मैं फ्रूट पीता था, ट्यूब.
क्या नशा चढ़ता है ट्यूब से?
सर घूमता है, मज़ा नहीं आता था. मेरे को सिखाया भी था किसी ने. 3-4 लड़के ना मतलब पहाड़ी जैसा घूमने लायक जैसे होता है ना, वहाँ पे 3-4 लड़के ना ये नशा कर रहे थे. मैं भी करूँ. एक बार उन्हें मार छीन के ना मैंने एक बार उनसे डलवा लिया, पिया. मेरा शरवर घूमा. फिर 3-4 दिन बाद वो दोबारा मिलते थे मेरे को. फिर मैंने उनसे छीना. फिर मैंने लाया बस 3-4 दिन छोड़ के फिर 1 महीना पिया होगा बस ऐसे ही. 1 महीने के बाद फिर मेरे पापा ने यहाँ डाल दिया. स्कूल मेरे बंद पड़े थे ना, इसलिए यहाँ डाल दिया था.
नशा कर रहा था. मैंने पूछा ये क्या, वो कह रहा ये फ्रूट है. फिर मैंने कहा इससे क्या होता है. उन्होंने ये क्या चीज़ है. फिर वो कह रहे मीठी चीज़ें पिएगा. फिर मैंने पिया ना, मुझे भी दिमाग में चलने लगा. धीरे धीरे बीड़ी सिगरेट गांजा वांजा सब सीख गया. स्कूल के बाहर करी, अंदर नहीं करी.
स्कूल के बाहर कौन आता था ड्रग्स देने?
वो कहता है वो दोस्त आते थे. और कभी मैं भीख मांग के पी लेता था कभी.
Well, there's a reason for those of our viewers who've just joined us. There's a reason why we're talking about this. There was a massive drug bust that happened in Hyderabad. And the reason why it happened is once the police caught one drug dealer and they discovered on his phone a photograph of a 13-year-old girl who had sent him compromising photographs of herself in return for drugs because she had a habit that she needed to support and she was allowing herself to be taken advantage of in return for drugs. So this is not a problem only for kids on the street. This is not a problem only for guys or only for boys or only for boys who have bad company. This is a problem right now in all of our schools. The police in Hyderabad sent out notices to 26 schools in Hyderabad, some of them very, very high profile, to tell the principals that, listen, we have evidence to believe that there is a narcotics habit or a drug habit among your students. We also understand now that not all of the principals reacted in the best possible way. Some of them actually said they're not responsible for what happens after school hours. This is exactly the kind of behavior and response we're trying to battle with this particular conversation that we're having tonight. I want to bring in Aparajita Gautam as a parent. Aparajita, this is a really scary story. Are we doing enough in the schools right now to sensitize our children?
See, if you ask me, I am not satisfied really, because recently we faced one problem. If I am talking about Delhi, many JJ colony parents were agitating against one liquor shop. They agitate against that liquor shop for a month, whole month. But it will be surprising if you can hear that liquor shop, it's still working. They agitate against the liquor shop, which is hardly, you can say, it's hardly 10 or 15 meters away from the school gate. And here we are talking about the drugs. My question is from your channel, where are the enforcement agencies which are supposed to control all these things? I just wanted to know. This is really an alarming situation for us as a parent. This is really alarming.
Where are the enforcement agencies? Swapnil Kothari, right now, obviously we have very, very stringent laws against narcotics. Why isn't that enough?
Well, it seems to me that an endemic problem has gained epidemic proportions, and the centre focusing on Aadhaar and demonetization in GST has completely lost focus of the two main problems which are there and festering and in fact infiltrated every nook and corner, including the schools. One is of the rape and the other one is of drugs. Now the acts are very stringent in the sense that we have the NDPS Act, and then we also are parties to the United Nations conventions, the Convention on Psychotropic Substances, the Convention on Narcotic Drugs, etc. And also we are a party to the SARC Convention, and we haven't done enough to ensure. In fact, the Supreme Court had requested the centre in January 2017 and issued a notice to them trying to find out as to what is happening, because they felt that there was administrative apathy towards this issue. And for the benefit of the viewers, there was a decision by the Supreme Court on 14th December 2016, before it issued this notice, when the Bachpan Bachao Andolan filed a writ petition under Article 32 of the Constitution for violation of fundamental rights of these drugged children who were losing their youth to these addictive substances. And the Supreme Court in fact issued certain directions to that effect, asking the centre to establish a database about all these drugged children, to take remedial steps, to take preventive steps, and to ensure that there were enough de-addiction centres. These were one amongst the many directions. So what has happened is that the centre has not given enough gravity to the situation, and it's great that we are pursuing this here through this channel on the second day again, to drive home the point that the youth themselves are the future of this country, and if we do not look at them seriously, if this particular issue is not looked at seriously, then there is of no use of Aadhaar and GST and all of that.
Well, let me bring in Vineet Jain at this point. Vineet Jain, representing the Punjab BJP, where are the de-addiction centres? Where is the plan that the government should have at this point? Whether it is the Women and Child Ministry, the HRD Ministry, any of the government agencies who should be looking into this. Because on one hand, we have the police working as hard as they can, but on the other hand, we need to reduce the number of children who are demanding the product. What are we doing? When was the last time any of us saw a public interest advertisement go out to children saying, say no to drugs? Why haven't we done that?
I'd like to say a few things and give me some time. As far as Union government is concerned, Union Ministry for Social Security, the Department of Social Security, they already have a policy in place whereby they are setting up de-addiction centers at all the district headquarters of India. And these de-addiction centers are not only de-addiction but rehabilitation and skill development centers, so that once a boy or girl who comes there for de-addiction. He is not only de-addicted, but he is given certain skills also, and he is provided, there's a facility of providing loans also to set up a business. So there's an art of living center, yoga centers, and multiple. So it's a government policy which is there in place for the last 2 years, and in most of the district headquarters, either these have come up or they are in process. One. Second, you see, we have been working against drugs for the last 3 years under the banner of Joshi Foundation in Punjab, and we have organized more than 4,500 approximately awareness programs. We started with a roundtable conference. It was a roundtable conference of experts from different fields, a state level conference, where we concluded that if you want to eradicate drugs from the society, it has to be a collaborative effort of parents, society and government. It can't be of only government. It has to be a collaborative effort, and more important role is of parents. Now, further down the line in 3 years, we have identified 2 roles, one of parents, second of police. You see, if police makes up its mind that they want to stop the sale of drugs, so definitely sale of drugs will stop. Because they are the one who can ensure. If the state governments make up their mind of tapping the phones of SHOs, area SPs and area SSPs, district level police officers, definitely they'll be able to crack down and break the backbone of drug cartels in India. Second, as far as parents are concerned,
have you you know, all right. So let me just go over what you said. You said setting up of de-addiction centers.
I want to say one more thing.
Okay, one more thing. Go ahead. One more thing.
I want to say request. As for now, the parenting is the biggest casualty these days. The parents, working couples, they are not able to devote time towards their kids, and in absence of proper parenting, these things are the outcomes. Now, you see, if their guy, if the child
to be fair, I don't think this is a time to debate parenting. I don't think this is a time to debate parenting, and I don't think it is fair to generalize all the parents in the country and say this problem is a result of bad parenting. I think that is both unfair and unjustified. Now, let me tell you about your reaction of what you just said. 1 second, Mr. Vineet Joshi, I heard you out. You said setting up of the addiction centers. We appreciate that. Not set up yet. You said there are awareness programs being conducted in Punjab. I appreciate that. Where are the awareness programs being conducted in the rest of the country? You also said that if state governments were actually wanted, I could name for you several state governments that are led by the BJP. Don't they want to get their SHOs and their government, their police in force, their district police in force to actually get something done? Why are we passing the buck between state governments and parents and police, and why can't we come together? Let me just tell you one thing. The reason why we're having this conversation, and now I'm opening it up to the whole panel, because Beti Bachao, Stand Up India, Start Up India, Make in India, Swachh Bharat, none of these things matter if our children are taking drugs. None of these things matter. You can't build a country if you have an entire generation of children that are lost to drugs. Do we not understand how desperate this situation is? None of the things you're saying to me sound like a reaction to a crisis situation. This is a crisis situation. At what point will we get that kind of reaction from the government? And that is the most important thing. I understand you're doing stuff. You're not doing enough.
You see,
you're not doing enough. Janhit mein jari. Where are the messages being sent out to our children to say no to drugs?
You see, I like to intervene that I am not representing union government. I am Secretary of Punjab Unit of BJP, so my role is only limited to the Punjab and none else. Second, though we have been working on drug de-addiction and anti-drug campaigns for the last 3 years, so I am much aware about this issue. And whether you accept it or not, parenting is the one of the most important reason where lies the reason for this drug menace, because the parents, they are the one who are able to make out that their kid or their boy or girl is moving towards drug because of the behavioral changes, initial changes. And and if ever they are able to control it at the initial level, they don't need even any medicine. The point is, parents are not able to devote time towards their kids. They are not able to give sanskar to their kids, and now the kids, they move in the market, they get education through internet, but they don't get any moral education. So point is, the parenting is the biggest casualty in the present, and that is this drug crisis is also one of the major reasons is parenting. Now, if parenting, society,
all right, you've pointed fingers at the parents so far. I'm sure the parents of the country have heard you, and they take cognizance of the fact that you believe it is their fault. Swapnil Kothari, go ahead.
Mr. Jain, I have 2 points to make. The first is, as a parent, I take, a deep offense at the fact that there is not enough parenting done just because 2 parents are working. I don't think that is the issue. That is simply passing the buck. The second point that I wish to make is that you said that that you are only a representative of the state government. So what you are trying to say is that you are not in touch with the centre. Now, may I finish, please? May I finish? I did not interrupt you. I did not interrupt you at all when you were speaking. When you were giving lame excuses as far as this problem is concerned. The state government of Punjab, are you trying to tell me that you are not in touch with the centre as far as this particular crisis is concerned? That means you consider it, you are looking only with merely on your nose.
To be fair, Mr. Vineet Jain is the secretary of the Punjab BJP, who's here to talk about what's happening in Punjab and what they're doing in Punjab right now, because Punjab has an acute problem.
Correct, but he needs to be in touch with the centre also as far as dealing with this issue in the state is concerned. So he must be aware of these, and I'm sure you're aware of the Supreme Court judgment. And you said that de-addiction centres are being set up. If they were being set up, then 2016 judgment, which is 6 months ago, they would not have come out with that, sir. To say that to put up de-addiction centres are sufficient, they are not sufficient enough.
All right, so see, I said this at the beginning of the show, and I personally believe that there's a collective responsibility that we have to all take. There's a responsibility, yes, I accept, that parents need to take for the children, that teachers, that principals, that any sort of guardian needs to take. The police has to take responsibility, the judiciary has to take responsibility, the government has to take responsibility, and yes, the media also has to take responsibility for not continuing the messaging constantly and telling our children that this is not right. Sagar Mundada, how do we know? And to address that problem, first of all, and I'm also going to ask Bosco this question, how do parents know that their children are actually trying drugs or experimenting with drugs? How can we tell?
Right. See, first of all, I would like to congratulate you people that I think this is the first time on national television that this issue is being taken up so seriously. This is the first thing that needs to be done if we want to tackle drug menace. Take it up at a larger scale. I think we were discussing, the lawyer sir was also discussing the same thing, that we are doing something but we are not doing enough. Okay. Now, as far as the parents are concerned, because the gentleman said that the bad parenting was was perhaps the most common reason why kids are getting into drugs.
Wrong.
That is not true. First of all, but if the child is showing any symptoms, what could those symptoms be? First of all, he's working, he has some set of friends, those set of friends suddenly change. That is one. Secondly, the student just does not want to stay at home. He wanders off away from home every 1 hour, 2 hour. You just talk to him initially before whatever behavioral changes you're noticing. Before, he was a very submissive or a very obedient child or a very playful child. Now he has a lot of mood fluctuations, a lot of emotional turbulence.
To be fair, Sagar, that sounds like every teenage boy we know.
That sounds like that. It sounds like that, but that is why it's very difficult. See, what we need to do is we need to have a very high index of suspicion. Another thing that we need to know is that the parents, again we discussed this yesterday, that the parents think that my child is not going to do this thing. That ideology, that psyche has to change.
Okay.
In fact, I would go on to say that every parent must think that by default my child must have tried drugs at least once. Better, it's better to be safe than sorry. If the parents do that and they strike a conversation with their children, not a very, very strict approach, that is also a very major thing that is lacking. A conversant approach with the kids, I think the kids sooner or later will tell their parents if they have experimented with something that is not normal.
Sagar, I have Vinod on the phone line from Mumbai right now. Our phone lines are open to parents and we're going to keep them open for the next 2 hours. So you can call in. Vinod, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Who's that, Faye?
Yes, this is Faye D'Souza speaking.
Yeah, Faye, this is Vinod here. See, I'm a parent of a child who is now around 26,
Yes.
I mean, he was into this, I was outside, now I've come back, I've retired and come back. Earlier, he got into this drug addiction, and I came to know And I went to some psychiatrist, then, nothing happened. Then they told that you put him in a rehab, I put him in a rehab, He was there for 6 months once. He came out, he became very nice and all, And again, after 2-3 months, again, he started doing the same thing, Again, after 4-5 months, again, I put him in another rehab, for another 4-5 months, But again, the same thing it is now. What do I do now?
What do you do? I'm going to take this question to Bosco. Bosco, from Kripa Foundation. This is obviously a very disheartening position to put a parent in, Bosco. What can Vinod do now?
See, the first thing is that the parents should understand that this is a relapse-prone disease. It is a confirmed disease like any other disease, but society till today does not accept this as a disease. What do we do? The parent has to, because now the parent has become a codependent. And being a codependent, the parent thinks sometimes that, oh no, the child is the problem, not me. But collectively, as you use the word collectively, I fully appreciate with you that yes, it has to be done collectively. The child could go back because in any rehab, there they tell him how to be away from that drink or a fix one day at a time. The most successful program in this world is the Alcoholic Anonymous and the Narcotic Anonymous. Yes, this professional help, a counselor's help, the help from a buddy will definitely help. But what this person or the child needs is one ingredient called love. Now, what is happening is when the child is using, the child, instead of loving another human being, is loving a substance. So instead of an I-thou relationship, he has got into an I-date relationship. I duly respect Mr. Jain, but I disagree when he said that the parents are totally responsible. No, it is all of us. The school, the friends, the relations, the neighbors, society at large is responsible for the children. Because like that movie Urta Punjab, it was across the border.
Right. I just want to point out something here. Our reporters have told us that right now a blot paper which is available for between 1,500 to 6,000 rupees that actually contains the drug is the size of a stamp. And the users put it under their tongue and that's how they ingest the drug. How is a parent supposed to even find this? We had a time when our parents would actually could find packets of cigarettes, or they would find matchboxes, or they would find lighters, they would smell it on you. This is how parents could tell that their child had developed bad habits. But how do you tell in this case, and how can parents actually stop this? That's the thing that's worrying me most of all. I still don't understand. This is my question here to D Bannerjee. Mr. Bannerjee, how is the drug, any sort of drug, how is it getting to the school gate? How are we in a law and order situation allowing something so dangerous to get to the school gate and perhaps inside of our schools right now? We're constantly reading about it, thinking it won't happen to our children, but there's a very real risk. Shouldn't the law and order shouldn't the law and order machinery be doing more?
Yes, definitely they should be doing more. But there are some problems, Generally what happens, these peddlers, they do not carry large amount of drugs. They carry very little drugs. They hide it here and there. And when they come across a particular victim or a student who wants a drug, they get it from some other place. They do not keep it with themselves in their possession. They hide it. And therefore it is very difficult to detect such peddlers, And
no, but to be fair, Mr. Bannerjee, that is the last mile of small doses. But it's coming in large doses. In July, for example, today, actually, I beg your pardon, today, 2 drug suppliers were arrested in Haryana with 1 kg of opium between the 2 of them. Why isn't the police able to catch these guys when they're coming into our city limits holding large quantities of drugs that they are then distributing in small quantities to these peddlers outside of schools? Shouldn't there be a better system? Or is it true, Mr. Bannerjee, that there are people at checkpoints, there are people within the law and order machinery who are hand in glove, who are allowing this to happen?
I'll tell you something. Before the NDPS Act was amended in 2004 or 6. I don't remember the exact year, I've forgotten. Before that, any quantity of drugs, not small, any quantity, even 1 kg of opium, any person found with possession of 1 kg of opium, it was punishable with 10 years to 20 years.
Yes, we're aware of
But
that.
now, the punishment has been graded according to the quantity. So if a person carries less quantity, it is called small quantity, the punishment is less than a year. Then there is the middle quantity, which is up to 5 kg.
So you're
commercial
telling me that
quantity
the
is 10
problem are
kg.
the
Only if
laws
it carries
and
the
not
amount of 10
not
kg
the,
of opium.
Not the law. You're telling me the problem is the law and not the law enforcer.
No, what the smugglers do, they don't carry much. If they carry more than 1 kg or 10 kgs, then they'll be getting more punishment. But if they carry less quantity, the punishment is less than a year, which they are ready to take the risk. So therefore, 1 kg, as we told, 500 grams. 500 grams is a less quantity. The punishment is just 1 year.
Uday Sahay?
But if he carries more than 10 kg, the punishment will be, it will be considered as a commercial quantity.
You see, my experience
So
says
these
that
smugglers, these traffickers, now, what they have done is
Mr. Uday Sahay, I refuse to believe that the
people.
law and order machinery cannot do more to catch or to prevent the supply of these drugs coming into our city limits. How is this being allowed?
No, it's actually, I do not agree with Mr. Bannerjee when he says that it's the quantity which constitutes the morale of the drug peddler, and he feels that he'll be given more stringent punishment if he is carrying a bigger. It's all these cases. There are two kinds of crimes that you see. One is what we call where you start with the crime and go on to the criminal, and then you have some crime when you start with the criminal and go into the crime. In a situation like this, you start working on intelligence, and that intelligence can only lead you to specific leads on catching the gangs, and then their network, and then it goes down further below. That's point number one. The priority has vanished. In the police station, drug is not a priority. Running after, chasing the drug peddlers, the drug dealers, etc. is not the priority, because there is a feeling that end of the day there is a narcotic cell who will do this job. Narcotic cell, if you talk to them, they say that we don't have a wherewithal enough, so there is a passing of the buck. If there is and when you talk about investigation, even if they are caught, you don't chase it long enough to connect the dots, the missing dots, and that only can take you to a situation where you can catch the bigger fishes. For example, one guy called Satnam Shah, about 10 years back, was caught in Delhi. We actually raided few farmhouses in South Delhi, and we realized that he was carrying 1,000 kgs of charas, nicely sealed, packed, all in Korea, and he had a huge network of guys who would facilitate his entry into the city at the airport, and then finally he would give it to the wholesaler to the retailer, and retailer to the drug the guy who is on the ground, who would distribute to the schools, even to the jails, etc. So there is a network, and such network can be broken.
So the network, the nexus should be broken. I absolutely agree with you. The nexus should be broken. Also, to tell our viewers, the effects of LSD, loss of appetite, sleeplessness, hallucinations, depression, distortion of a sense of time. These are all impacts that you can see in your child or your loved one. If you see unusual behavior, you must be suspicious. You can't, we can't write it off like Dr. Mundada said. You can't write it off to just bad teenage behavior or adolescence, or this person is just moody. Be suspicious and err on the side of suspicion at this point. Even if your child turns around and says, you ruined my life because you're looking through my pockets, go ahead and look through his pockets or her pockets. Neetu's on the phone line from Mumbai right now. Neetu, go ahead.
What we are discussing right now is cure. What we need to discuss is prevention. This sort of menace and the way it's exploded in our society cannot happen without political nexus. It has to have political backing. India is an intelligent country. I believe we have a good intelligence system. How can there be a collective failure of intelligence and police networking? It has to be stopped. The fact that it is reaching down the line means it is not stopped. We cannot start treating people because it's not easy to treat a drug addict. Even for a parent, when he finds out that his child is a drug addict, there's nothing much that the parent can do because it's already too late. So the fact that these things are entering in our system and being distributed happily cannot happen without police and political nexus.
Absolutely.
That is what needs to be controlled, and we cannot deny that there is police and political nexus doing this. Where is the supply coming from? Why aren't we stopping the supply? And how is it that the Gau Rakshaks are more vigilant in knowing where cows are being transported, but our cops and our political people don't know where the drugs are coming from? I believe it's impossible for us not to know that, and it is happening with proper connivance of all the agencies.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out here, if we're just talking about the Hyderabad seize the other day, 600 blots of drugs, 100 blots on Tuesday, 35 grams of MDMA, total value of 25 lakh rupees was seized in one day. 62 blots of LSD was seized yesterday. Total number of people were 10. It was an entire nexus. That's what you're looking at on your screen. Now, there are a couple of things we should remember right now. These drug dealers are not the drug dealers of yesteryear that we remember, seedy guys standing in the corner of the street. These are people who are interacting with our children with the same kind of social, network that our children might have. You won't be able to tell them apart from the rest of the friends that your children might have. You have to be suspicious. But the question comes back to 25 lakh rupees of drugs that were seized in Hyderabad. So obviously they're not coming in at 5 grams at, a piece. They're coming in the kilos. And if they're coming in the kilos, how is it that we're not able to detect, and how is it that we're not able to stop it? And if we're not able to go right up till the top of the problem, like Neetu just pointed out, if there are politicians and very important people at the top of this problem, is that why we are not fully investigating and busting the racket? Dr. Lakshman on the phone line from Bangalore. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on your program.
Thank you for holding.
I've been listening for the last few minutes to some of your speakers. Yeah, and I think all this business about if there's such a large amount of drugs coming in, I think you need to answer the question as to why such a large amount is coming in. The reason is there is a huge demand. Without demand, there can be no supply. Yeah, why is there a demand? The demand is because these youngsters want to have these drugs. Yeah, one of the parents mentioned this very nicely. He said that they're having it because they think it is fun. Yeah, the fun very quickly becomes a nightmare. So basically, I think there has to be a lot of education in schools that this is not funny at all. I think finally the joke is on the person taking the drug. The lady before me was going on about, how to control it, political nexus, etc., etc. In the United States, despite all these things, drugs are just coming into the market. So all this is very easy to say. The fact of the matter is that the person taking the drug is the index person here. All the others are cosmetic things. Our problem is that except for the AANA program, we as doctors do not have a proper systematized program. There are very few de-addiction centers and there are very few professionals trained to run these centers.
Right. Let me also bring in Sneha Kalita, who joins us, who's called us right now from Delhi. We understand she's an advocate with the Supreme Court. Sneha, go ahead.
Yes. My deep concern is that now the panelists are talking about the police person should be they should really take heavy responsibility. Parents should take the heavy responsibility. Okay, I can understand. All the stakeholders should take the responsibility for de-addicting the children. But what next if a children is addicted? What do we do? In house we cannot keep them because they get very violent. They become very aggressive. So we should have a proper rehabilitation center. My deep concern is in India we don't have one single proper rehabilitation center because I myself have really researched in this particular area and I could hardly find any center who has this 12 steps program. It's like de-addiction program. So I really concerns me that we talk about the act, we talk about the implementation, but I think that it's high time that all stakeholders must understand that it's it's a addiction which cannot be cured by again giving some kind of the treatment. The treatment has to be 12-step, which includes
Right. So we don't have enough de-addiction centers. Dr. Mundada wanted to come in, but there's one more thing I want to just tell our viewers. In the Hyderabad drug racket that was busted, there was one drug peddler called Calvin. And the police looked through Calvin's phone, where they found that objectionable photograph of a 13-year-old girl. They also found they found 1,000 clients who were largely children, 20 of whom were VIPs, one of which was the daughter of a senior IPS officer in Hyderabad, one of which was the son of a very senior journalist. So let me first point out very clearly that nobody can go to bed tonight thinking that my child is immune and my child is not going to get involved in this. Achhe ghar ke bacche ye sab nahi karte. There's no such thing anymore. Those barriers are all down. Everybody's children right now are free game. Sagar Mundada, go ahead.
Yeah, see, there are two things which I wanted to say. We have to deal with this issue in two ways. One is at the micro level, another is at the macro level. Macro level is the nationwide level, the strategies, the policy making. At the micro level, what I think parents, schools and the students themselves can do. What the parents can do is they can be more suspicious, we discussed that. What the schools can do is, I think in our present system there is a definite lack of emphasis on what drug addiction is.
Yes.
Even if it is done in a very mundane way. It is not made at all interesting. The side effects are not explained. Or if you do drugs, your life will be worsened. Even if this one tagline can be fitted into their brains through various measures, through role plays, through different types of things, I think that will be very important. Another thing is what needs to be done in the school at a very small level is, if you create a culture where taking drugs or where taking any substance is not a good status symbol. If you can create that kind of negative reinforcement that if somebody does such a thing.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Swapnil as well. Is it time for a PIL in one of our courts asking for stricter rules, asking for stricter checkpoints, asking for the government or the law and order machinery to make sure that these drugs are not entering our cities anymore?
Yes, in fact, it's the time is ripe for the simple reason that the last PIL by the Bachpan Bachao Andolan was not sufficient enough, and from what the answers that I'm getting is that one Mr. Bannerjee is suggesting that the foreigners tend to put it into 500 grams worth of contraband. I think that presumes that each of them have read the NDPS Act and they know that they're going to suffer only 1 year, which is a little absurd to suggest, for the simple reason that the police are definitely hand in gloves, and it's the complete failure of the enforcement machinery. And also one of the important things, Faye, is that the government, the center, both the center and the state, need to give these kind of blowouts in the newspapers, the way they come out on GST and all of those things, the FAQs, etc., on the drugs aspect as well, so that there is a complete awareness, nationwide awareness about this problem being an epidemic proportion. So the PIL would address all these issues the way the last PIL addressed some of the issues, which I'm not so sure whether the center has done enough as far as that aspect is concerned.
Vineet Jain, obviously the Punjab is at a crisis situation right now, but obviously the rest of the country is as much of a crisis as Punjab. We need to have a quicker, a better, a sharper reaction to what's going on.
I'm not able to make out what you asked me, but I like to say that I'm not Jain, I'm Vineet Joshi, not Vineet Jain. Second, last year when Udta Punjab controversy took place, I was there on all national channels, including Times Now, where I said it is not Udta Punjab, but it is Udta India, Udti Dunia. Because in 1987, United Nations established June 26 as International Anti-Drug Day, if we want to make it short. And in 87, they identified that drug is a big menace. Now it is 2017. So it's an international menace which we need to work out. We need to do a collaborative effort to ensure that it is eradicated. But it has to be, the efforts have to be consistent, constant, and that too by parents, society and government in a collaborative way. Yes, there are lot many challenges. Now, though the panelists and the most of the people don't agree with us, but the campaign which we carried out in Punjab, there where we arrived to the consensus that the parenting is one of the most important.
Vineet, unfortunately, I have to take a very quick break here. We're going to take a break, but we will continue for the next hour talking about the issues of drugs in our schools, drugs that our students and our children are accessing, what we need to do as parents, as society, as teachers, as principals, as government, as members of the judiciary, and of course, as the police force, to make sure that we protect our children from what could be the final nail in the coffin of the future of India if we don't have a sharper, quicker reaction to what's happening. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere.